So in today's video, I'm going to do something that I didn't think I would ever do. I'm going to dedicate a video to Perturabo and the Iron Warriors, and I actually agree with the actions they took. Now, before we jump in and we start discussing this, I just want to let you know that the following video is going to be jam-packed with spoilers from the latest Siege of Terra book that is known as Mortis. So if you haven't read that book, then please leave the video now. This is your first and only warning. So for those of you who are still here on the video, we all know that the Siege of Terra is the traitors versus the loyalists. We know that Rogel Dawn was the defender, and it was Perturabo who was the attacker. The Imperial Fist Legion versus the Iron Warrior Legion, about breaking the siege, maintaining the siege. It's that old rivalry, not between the legions, but between the brothers themselves. Dawn saying he's unbreakable, Perturabo trying to prove the point that, you know, Dawn is wrong and he could break him anytime he wanted. But what we have now in the Siege of Terra series is that the story has changed massively, where the Iron Warriors and Perturabo leave the Siege of Terra. Perturabo packs his bags, he's had enough, and he leaves. He absolutely just takes off into space and says, screw this, I'm leaving. I don't believe in this cause anymore. Now, initially when I read this, I actually giggled to myself, because as an Imperial Fist, of course, I'm going to have the jokes. I'm like, they're weak, they couldn't take it, they couldn't do this. But the more I thought about it, the more I actually agreed with the Iron Warriors. I know, this is a strange video. The more I agreed with Perturabo, the more I actually felt sorry for Perturabo. I'm seeing a lot of things in this video that I probably can't take back. But at the end of the day, I think he made the right decision. And the reason for that is Perturabo always wanted love. In my mind, that's all he wanted. He just wanted to be loved of the work that he did, and he always got the bad end of the stick, you could say. You know, the Emperor never gave him the devotion that he gave to other legions. They never appreciated him, you could probably argue. And then Horus comes along and says, you know, Perturabo, you're the only brother I trust. I need you to do this for me. I need you to break the walls of terror. And Perturabo seen in Horus, you know, the gift that he never got from the Emperor, is that his devotion, that his praise for him, and that is why he sided with him. Of course, there's a lot more into it with, chaos being intertwined in the background and stuff. But the emotional connection for me is that Perturabo just wanted to be appreciated, and Horus at the time gave him that appreciation. Now, what has been happening through the Siege of Terra is that Horus, of course, now he's swelled up with all the chaos powers. Chaos is, you know, weaving its way through him, doing the chaos things it does. Perturabo has seen that this is no longer a war that he wants to be in. The brother he loves, the brother that was Horus that he knew, is no longer that brother anymore. You just have this abomination now, which is on the throne. It's basically a puppet of chaos. So Perturabo in this, he's just had enough. He's literally had enough of trying to do this war with the powers that are in place now. So that's why he took his legion, and he just left the Siege of Terra. Now, this opens up a bunch of different options now. Is that how are they actually going to break the walls? I know there's a lot of stuff actually on Terra now, so they're probably going to be doing it. I know with Mortis, there's massive Titan battles in there and stuff, and all that happens. But without Perturabo, without that tactical person in charge, I think the traitors are going to be losing a lot more people than they were supposed to at reaching the inner sanctum of the Imperial Palace. And the big shocker which you can argue about is, if Perturabo never left, then the heretics would have won the Siege of Terra. And the reason I say this, because again, if you've read Mortis, you'll understand. Corswain and the Dark Angels, or, you know, a certain amount of Dark Angels, come into the Sol system, and they do like a smash and grab, so they can land on Terra. And one of the reasons they're successful is that because they're not met with enough resistance in the ships above Terra, and the reason why they're not met with enough resistance is because the Iron Warrior fleet has already left. Coursewain takes back the Astronomicon, which then allows the signal to go out, which alerts the Loyalists that, you know, Terra is still standing, which of course makes Gilliman, the Lion, you know, Lehman Russ, and all the other people that are out there, let's say, know that the Emperor is still alive and Terra is still fighting, and pushes them onwards towards Terra to get to that final act where we know Dawn, Sanguinius, and the Emperor port aboard the Vengeful Spirit and have that final showdown. Now, one of the bigger fallouts from this is that this really sets up now for the so-called Iron Cage, or the Scouring series, because the Iron Warriors and Perturabo, yes, they have lost probably you know, a lot of legionnaires and stuff, but they're probably going to be one of the strongest legions coming out of the Siege of Terra. Like, the Emperor's children more or less got devastated with the trap that Rogel Dawn set them. You can argue that the Sons of Horus get absolutely decimated. Mortarion, the Death Guard, that's probably going to be in the new Warhawk novel. I'm wondering how they fare against Jagatai Khan and his legion retaking the spaceport. But the Iron Warriors and Perturabo are definitely coming out the Siege of Terra as one of the strongest legions. And that does excite me now, because the follow-up stories I think are really going to be interesting. With the Scouring series, with the Iron Cage, it puts the Iron Warriors in a position of power. It puts them in a dominant position as one of the legions who can actually dictate the way the story goes, because of the strength that they still have in terms of manpower. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see where this story goes. It's also really interesting they took that step, because I always thought that it was Perturabo who was there to the end and he couldn't break the walls, but instead he chose to actually walk away from those walls. So just in summary, I just want to say that if Perturabo never left the Siege of Terra, then Terra would have fallen. The Emperor would have been slain, Dawn would have been killed, Sanguinius would have been killed, Khan, Vulcan, they all would have died, Chaos would have won, and it would be a different setting that we know today. But since Perturabo, you know, actually looked into the forces he was serving and chose not to serve under that banner of damnation anymore, he saved the Imperium, he saved the Emperor, he saved the Loyalists actually on Terra. I know this is a bizarre video from me, but I just want to say, you know, thank you to Perturabo, because without you, we wouldn't won the Siege of Terra. Alright, Chaperonios, that is me done for another video. Thank you for coming, thank you for watching as always. What are your thoughts on this? Do you like that they changed the story where Perturabo left the Siege of Terra? He packed his bags and he just left. He just couldn't be asked with Horus anymore, demons and all like the chaosy stuff. Do you agree with that, or do you think it would be more interesting if he stayed to the end and he just couldn't breach the walls and he's seen this as a complete loss and that is the reason why he retreated? Put your thoughts, feedback and stuff like that in the comments down below, and we'll have a nice chat down there as we always do. See you now, and bye bye.